Hey everyone, Dr. Yu here. Welcome to another reading lesson. Today we're going to look at how to evaluate an argument and its specific claims. So here are the learning objectives. You need to be able to identify the argument and its supporting evidence. Examine information that supports the argument and evaluate the relevancy and sufficiency of the evidence. So this is actually very similar to a previous lesson that we talked about. Right, you need to identify a claim and then all the supporting details for that claim. All right, now there are some very important definitions here. If you can, differentiate these terms very well, then it will be much easier to answer the questions on TEAS. A claim is a statement of a position on an issue. So for example, I may say sugar or too much sugar is bad for your health. And then you're going to list all the reasons, right? Reasons are general statements that offer support for a claim. So for the claim that too much sugar is bad for your health, I may say one of the reasons is that too much sugar intake can lead to diabetes, right? So that's one reason. And then I have to list evidence, right, for a particular reason. So evidence can be, fact, reason, statistics, and some other information used to support the reason. I said earlier, the claim is too much sugar is bad for your health. And one reason for that is diabetes can be caused by taking in too much sugar. And the evidence can be, say, a research study. So maybe scientists look at two groups of, say, mice, right? One group has a regular diet and the other group has a diet with a high level of sugar. And then that particular group has more mice developing diabetes than the control group. And that would be very good evidence, right? It's based on research, based on reliable data. The last term, argument, that's a discussion that involves opposing views on an issue. So it's a different point of view. So this could be a fact or a statement offered as proof or evidence. So for my previous claim that too much sugar is bad for your health, there can be opposing views on that, right? Some people may say, well, our body needs sugar, so sugar is necessary for the normal functions of the body, right? Our body does metabolize glucose to generate energy. All right. Now, this is just kind of a general step on how to identify the argument. So first, you have to identify the topic or issue. Right? So the topic could be about sugar, right? Debate on whether sugar is good or bad for the health. Second, determine if the author has stated an opinion, which is a claim. And usually for a lot of passages, the opinion or claim tend to be, the opinions and claims tend to be at the beginning. And then in the end, there might be a reiteration of that particular opinion or claim. And then last, once you figure out, the claim, then you're going to check all the details and evidence that support that claim, right? And then see if those details and evidence are convincing enough, whether they're credible, reliable information. Okay, so how to evaluate evidence? There are a few things that you need to keep in mind. And again, this is similar to one of the lessons that we went over before. For instance, who the author is or authors are, their background, where is the source published, and whether the source is peer-reviewed, which is very important. How recent the source is, right? It could be outdated, so you want more recent information. Is it primary source or secondary source? Usually primary source is more accurate, right? I'm sure you all have played the game. I think it's called telephone, right? So you know that the first person has the most accurate information, right? But once that information is passed on, between people, then it's going to get less accurate. So primary source is usually better than a secondary source, just in terms of how accurately the information is reiterated. Last, that's the source providing information that supports the argument. So you kind of need to evaluate whether the evidence is relevant or not, right? The relevancy of the evidence. Now, the study manual does mention that sometimes people may provide irrelevant evidence. That could be accidental, right? If the author is not a very good writer, but that could be strategic too. Maybe the author just doesn't have a lot of evidence, right? So using unrelated evidence is just a strategy to kind of distract the readers and make the readers think that, okay, oh, there's still evidence for the support, but in reality, there's not. All right, some of the common forms of questions. Which of the following is the primary argument of the passage, right? So you need to identify the argument. And so you should also be able to identify the reason that supports the argument, evidence. And once you understand what the argument is, you should be able to identify the counter argument, right? A counter argument is an argument with opposing views. So for the statement, sugar is bad for your health, a counter argument would be sugar is good for your health. It's needed by your body. Okay, now let's look at the first practice passage. All right, let's move on to the first question. This passage is about Facebook, right? And from the first paragraph, you can tell that the author has a very negative view on Facebook. So it says, the use of social networking sites, in particular Facebook, can not only skew your understanding of a reality, it can also cause you actual physical harm. Okay, so that's the main statement or claim for this passage. Okay. All right, number one, which of the following is the author's argument? So the correct answer is A. The use of Facebook causes a harm to health, right? Which is the sentence right there. Now, let's look at B, C, and D. B, Facebook is a place where most people post positive, happy experiences. And that might be a true statement, but is this the author's argument? No, right? The author actually has a very different point of view on Facebook. C, living virtually is popular among people these days. It's not even mentioned in the passage, right? And then this statement has like a positive feel, right? Which again is not what the author is trying to express. D, Facebook causes some people to change jobs. Now, this is too specific, right? This is one of the details here. So, specific details, evidence are not the main argument. So that's why D is not correct. So correct answer is A. All right, next question. All right, this question is about reasons, right? The first question is about the overarching claim or argument. And then this question is kind of going down a level and asking you about reasons that support the claim. All right, now for this passage, it's actually pretty obvious, right? Because it actually uses the keywords, the main reason right here. So is it A, the use of Facebook causes harm to health? No, because that's the overarching claim argument. And B, Facebook is a very positive online community. That's not it either. Right? It's, again, the author is trying to express the opposing view. C, Facebook posts may only show part of people's life. That's the correct answer. Because when you read the second paragraph, it says about how Facebook can make us think that other people are living happier lives, more fulfilled and more successful, but you don't see you don't see all aspects of their life, right? People only post happy memories. They only talk about happy experiences on Facebook. So they may experience, some unpleasant things in their life, but they just don't put them on Facebook. So you think people are living a better life than you do on Facebook, but in reality, it might be totally the opposite. So C is the correct answer. And D, that's not correct, that eating too much sugar is bad for your health. In the first paragraph, there's an analogy there. So according to a clinical psychiatrist, Facebook is to your mind what sugar is to your body, bad all around. So that's just a analogy saying that Facebook is bad for people's health. Okay, next question. Question 3, which of the following is evidence that supports the author's argument? So you can see now we're going down to specific supporting details, specific evidence. Is it A, the use of Facebook causes harm to health? We talk about this one, right? That's the argument. Is it B, Facebook is a place where most people post positive, happy experiences? No, that's not the evidence. And C, Facebook posts may not be what reality is. That's the main reason, right? But it's not the evidence. So when you read the sentence, it reads like someone's statement, right? There's no specific data or detail in there. So you know that's not the evidence. What about the last one? Facebook causes some people to change jobs according to a career counselor. That's a specific piece of evidence. So D is the correct answer. Usually evidence would be, a quote from someone, or it could be some specific data, some specific statistic. Just remember that evidence cannot be a general statement. Okay? It has to be very specific. All right, last question. Okay, this question is about counter argument. So you know what the author's argument is. So which one is the counter argument? Is it A, Facebook is a legitimate and well-known company? No, because the author is not talking about whether Facebook is legal or not. Right? That's not the main point. The author is talking about that that the use of Facebook can cause actual physical harm. So not A. Is it B? Facebook is a place where people post positive experiences? No. Now, this one can be a little bit tricky. The key is to know that if the original argument from the author is about causing harm to the body, then your counter argument should be, why the use of Facebook is good for your mind, good for your body, right? So that should be the counter argument. So that's why B is not correct. How about D? Facebook should implement more strict rules on what people can post. So that has nothing to do with the potential good impact, positive impact from using Facebook. So the correct answer is C. Facebook keeps people connected and enables the feeling of being part of a community, right? So that's some kind of positive impact from Facebook. So C is the correct answer. All right, now let's move on to the second practice passage. So again, you have 45 seconds to read the passage. All right, first question. All right, this question is about the author's argument. Similar to the previous passage, this one also has the main argument at the beginning, right? So you can see the first couple of sentences. It's about, even though plastic bags have a bad reputation, but completely banning them could have some surprising negative effect on the environment. A ban could have repercussions on consumer convenience and even the economy, without truly making a significant improvement on the environment. So that's the main argument. So which one is a rephrase of that A, right? Banning plastic bags may not be truly good for the environment. Okay, next question. So this question is about the reason for the argument. So is it A, banning plastics could have some negative effects on the environment? That's part of the overarching argument, right? So it's not one of the reasons. Is it B, plastics contribute to the landfill because they do not degrade easily? That could be a correct statement, but it's not what the author is talking about here, right? The author is trying to say that plastic bags may have some beneficial impact on the environment. So this statement is the opposite of what the author is trying to say, right? The author is trying to talk about some of the good aspects about using plastic bags. C, it may be difficult to educate residents to learn how to properly reuse paper for fabric bags. The paragraph does not talk about this, right? So that's new information. It's not even mentioned. So not C. Is D, plastic does not produce as much carbon footprint as natural materials such as cotton. So that's the correct answer because it's the third reason, right? When you look at this paragraph, there are 3 reasons discussed in here. So that's the first reason. And then we have a second, and this is the last reason, which talks about the fewer resources used by producing plastic bags than paper or cotton bags. Okay. So correct answer is D. All right, next question. All right, so this is about evidence that supports the author's argument. Is A, the common belief that almost everything is better than the typical plastic bags? No, that does not support the author's argument. The author is trying to argue about why this common belief is not true. B, according to a chemistry professor, plastic bags use less resources than paper or cotton bags with about half of the carbon footprint, right? So that's the reason 3. So the author cited information from an interview with a chemistry professor from the University of Oregon. The information compared the use of resources between plastic bags and paper or cotton bags. So that's a pretty good evidence, right? A researcher from a reputable university. So that information is likely to be credible. C, the author uses plastic bags to line the bathroom trash can and clean up after the dog. So that's the first reason. It talks about the fact that some people reuse their plastic bags, right, which is a good thing. But the thing is, the tricky part is that as evidence, you can't talk about what you think or what you do, right? That's going to be highly biased. So the fact that the author uses plastic bags does not suggest that everybody else does the same thing, right? So it's just an individual behavior. So that's not good evidence. And also, the author does not specifically say that he or she actually does it, right? So that statement might not be true. D, protecting the environment involves multiple fronts, not just stop using plastic bags. Consumers should keep the bigger picture in mind. So this is not a particular piece of evidence, right? This is a very general kind of point of view, right? We have to think about all the aspects that are about this process of, protecting the environment, producing less waste and using less resources. Right? So that's what the author is trying to say. So you have to think about a lot of different things and have that bigger picture in mind. So this is definitely a general argument, but it's not a piece of evidence. So correct answer is B. Okay, last question. this is about counter argument. And remember, in this paragraph, the author is trying to say that plastic bags are surprisingly better for the environment than paper or cotton reusable bags. So that's the argument. So your counter argument should be why plastic bags may be worse than paper or cotton bags to the environment. So is it D, plastics are cheap to make and some plastic products can even be reused? And no, that's the opposite of what you're looking for, right? You're looking for that harmful effect, that negative impact on the environment. And B, people should do their own research in environmental issues. That's not relevant. So the correct answer is A. So this is about that, if plastic bags end up in the ocean, they can be ingested by marine organisms, right? And once inside, those plastic bags can totally mess up their GI tract, right? So it can be very dangerous to those marine organisms. And paper and cotton may not have the same effect, right? Because the organisms may be able to digest them. Okay? So the correct answer is A. I do want to point out that this is from a person's blog. Okay, so this is not from a scientific journal, and also focuses on plastic bags and not all plastic products. So keep those points in mind. And I would still suggest that we use less plastic as possible. Now, plastic bags might not be as bad, but some of the other plastic products, like water bottles, like plastic water bottles, I think they're still pretty bad for the environment. And they can be fragmented, and those little pieces can end up in the ocean, in the river, and ingested by aquatic organisms, which can have a harmful impact on them. Okay, I think that's the end. Yes, so good job, guys. I will see you next time.